Vast oceans and seas stretch across the face of the Earth. Having so much more visible water than land, our home could be known as the Blue Planet. Life first appeared on Earth 3.8 billion years ago. In that time, the Earth has developed into a beautiful planet. The sea and all that it contains is the womb of Mother Earth. Life on land seems loud and hectic. Here, so many lives struggle and prosper day after day. Their very existence is supported by the richness and power that the sea provides. There are 4 huge currents that circulate clockwise in the Pacific Ocean. These currents make life possible for an enormous array of living things. Now, let's go on an adventure to follow the trail of these currents. The guide of our travels is an oceanographer who has surveyed the seas of 70 countries around the world. The oceanic journalist, Masakazu Nagata. This time, we visit one of the most beautiful coral reefs in the world, called the Necklace of the Pacific Ocean. How did our ancestors, who came across the vast Pacific Ocean, bandied about by the wind and currents, manage to survive the journey to these coconut islands? This is the Mahuro Atoll of the Marshall Islands, which extends over 3,700 kilometers of the Pacific Ocean, southwest from Hawaii. It is an oval-shaped island measuring 40 kilometers from east to west. There are 38 islands, big and small, all in a row. This atoll was given the name the Pearl Necklace by early voyagers. Winds from the northeast blow across the Mahuro Atoll. The North Equatorial Current is strong here, influenced by the western trade winds. How was such an atoll created in the deep and vast North Pacific? Islands of the Pacific Ocean slowly creep their way to the northwest at a rate of about 10 centimeters a year. When the ground was drilled, the thickness of the coral reef measured 1,250 meters. The outside of the atoll falls to a depth of hundreds of meters.
The North Equatorial Current carries coral eggs, and the fish are equally carried as well. The atoll supports people of various occupations and has done so for generations.
The coral grows upward in Mahuro, where the rays of the sun are strong. The coral continues to grow because it is not threatened by typhoons. These table-like shapes are called madrepore, and they form where the tide is strongest.
It has been said that the most beautiful coral in the world can only be found in Majuro.
The coral reef is a popular place for the ocean-ranging fish that ride along the current to gather here. The reef has become a feeding station for various fish that come and go. This toothed tuna is hunting for food around the reef. The tuna is about 1 meter or more in length. Batoidea have traveled a long distance using the flow of the tide around the reef. They search for sands to rest in and await an opportunity to capture some food. On the slope of the coral reef lives the dusky batfish. It is an omnivorous fish that eats algae and small animals.
The shark we see in front of us is a blackfin shark.
Here we see the distinctive topography of the Mahuro Atoll. The sea resembles the color of shallow water rather than the open ocean. It is because its depth is shallow and there is a lot of sand. The coral grows up splendidly in the peaceful sea. They form a line of living growths that run the length of the atoll. The current carries sand to the coral reef that grows upward toward the sea's surface. It also carries hearts of palm, and the seabirds carry the plant seed. The island as we see it now is the result of thousands of years of Mother Nature's handiwork. The plants help to fortify the land under the strong equatorial sun. The island matures as more living things settle on it. Once it became an island, people then came long distances to settle here. The coral keeps growing safely in the calm environment, defended by the island in the sea.
The algae named Zooxanthella lives together in a small coral body. This algae has chlorophyll and photosynthesizes by bathing in the sun's rays. The carbon dioxide that has released in the seawater is absorbed, providing nourishment, and oxygen is discharged. The coral is alive and requires this nourishment to sustain itself. Therefore, the coral is an animal that feeds off of this small field. It is a color of Zooxanthella, where it settles on the inside. This is where the coral appears pale brown and green. One feature of the coral reef in the lagoon looks like a shattering of the coral in a lump of sand. The coral here has put out all polyps. The same coral has quite a different color in the areas where the polyp has been put out and the areas in which it hasn't been put out. The tentacle of the coral is brown as it extends out, though it becomes gray when it is shut. The coral captures and eats the zooplankton with this polyp. You see the white part? Here, the parrotfish is biting and marking the coral. The parrotfish eats the coral and it eats the polyp. The excrement of the fish which eat the coral contributes to marking the coral white.
Let's take a look at the fish that rely upon the coral.
Three Bandicylus have gathered and live here. The Japanese name is Misujuryuk Yusesumedai. This name comes from Okinawa. Because there are a lot of them there. There is the same species in Majuro as well. It can reappear in the North Equatorial Current.
This crownfish is found around the islands of Micronesia and doesn't exist in Japan. Chromis notata are only found in Mahuro.
It is a crownfish here that has 3 main lines and lives exclusively in this island.
The 3-band anemone fish are plentiful, even though they can only be found in the waters surrounding this island. The wrasse is referred to as a cleaner because it eats parasites off other fish. A sea anemone is visited by a prawn a couple of times. On the right is a male, and on the left is a female. They coexist peacefully, though they are close to the menacing tentacle of the sea anemone that can paralyze other living things. Here is a strange prawn that keeps shaking his tail in a serious pose. The coral reef keeps growing while supporting many living things every day. One day, an island will appear in this very spot. The Arno Atoll lies 26 kilometers east of the Mahuro Atoll. About 2,000 people live on the 70 islands that comprise this atoll. The biggest of these islands is Arno Island. It is long and slender, stretching 30 kilometers in length.
This is Mambal village on Arno Island. It is quiet. I hear only the wind blowing through the leaves. That and the sound of the sea and the coconuts shifting in the breeze. It is true that there is nothing taller than the coconut tree.
These primitive surroundings made us feel like we were living in the distant past. Hearts of palm bear heavy fruit. Each house garden contains a special local product of the Mambal village. We came upon a man who was peeling off his hearts of palm in the garden.
He got the dry coconut very quickly. This job requires skill.
A coconut has a hard shell, but this man peeled it off very easily. The hardest part appears to be peeling off the skin. When it is cut open, a plentiful amount of coconut milk is released. The pig enjoys a long drink. It must be very good. And the white flesh from the coconut is taken out from the hearts of palm. This is called copra. It is the raw material used to make coconut oil. The copra has been taken out and is dried for several days under strong sunlight. Coconut oil has a fine consistency and can be obtained by squeezing copra. Copra is an important cash crop for the people on the island. Copra is collected at the factory in Mahuro, and the machine begins to squeeze the coconut oil out. One of the uses of the coconut oil is as a pollution-free fuel for cars and ships. In Mahuro, this oil is also used as a raw material for other products, such as soap. And on Arno Island, a copra cake is made once the coconut oil has been extracted. These cakes are used as compost in the fields. The soil of the island, which has grown from the coral reef, is not particularly fertile. Chemical fertilizer is required to enrich the soil. The people on the island discovered a second use for the copra cake. The natives of the island say proudly that it tastes good and helps them grow beautiful vegetables. In this soil, the eggplant, corn, green pepper, and other produce grow well.
Now enjoy this scene on the edge of the Arno seabed, where the North Equatorial Current can be found. The edge of the atoll is considerably rough and choppy, where you find this unique vegetation because of the current and the trade winds.
On Arno Island, there is no air pollution at all.
There is a flounder called maned flounder, Botus mancus. It transforms itself at the same time that it moves, cutting through the sand.
The edge of the atoll is considerably rough and choppy because of the current and the trade winds.
A considerably strong tide has passed on the bottom of the Sea of Sands. It is a root of the coral reef itself. One is covered with fingerlings, even though the tide is fast. As for the crowds of fish who swim vibrantly, they symbolize this healthy coral root too.
There is a shoal of fish that swim resolutely toward the tide. On the other hand, there are fish who enter a coral shadow and choose to avoid the strong tide instead. Both are relatives of the Apogon lineatus. These fries, which have floated along to arrive here, will grow up and embark on a journey to a large-scale coral. However, a lot of fingerlings will spend their entire life here. The egg is expelled in the North Equatorial Current, and the resultant adult ends up on the other side. These fish thrive in this clean and healthy sea. The night of the full moon, men go out hoping to catch unsuspecting fish, who are now in a deep sleep. Nagata was overjoyed when he was invited to go crayfishing. He seldom has a chance to do so. Crayfishing fascinates Nagata. The sea crayfish is a nocturnal animal. They are not difficult to spot as they creep out from the rocks. They find one just as it tries to escape. No tools are needed, only one's hands. This one was captured in the coral reef less than 1 meter down. That was fast. This is the Panuliris penicillatus, the sea crayfish who lives in shallow water. We see the signal light in the distance. Now everyone will be together. A crayfish appears to enter the hole. However, he seems to have trouble getting it. 3 men are needed to drive it out. A crayfish tries to escape by entering this hole. However, he is not successful. This is a Parabacus antarcticus. The taste of its meat is better than that of the sea crayfish. That is why men relentlessly seek it out. The waves shake it from the men's grasp. However, it is captured again. It continues to move its feelers and attempt to escape. This is a female holding a red egg. However, they will take it home without letting it go. There is no restriction in Marshall as yet regarding the size and time when you may catch the sea crayfish. Nagata has also found one. However, it is in the interior of a hole. One of the more experienced crayfishermen captures it for him. 3,000 years ago. It is said that people from the Asian continents were the ancestors of the people from Micronesia. Moving from island to island, the people ate what they found on each island. As the islands grew more populated, some people would go off to other islands. The richness and variety of food provides sustenance for these natives. The tattoo on her body depicts the marvel of nature, expressing both gratitude and fear. For the woman, it is an act of beautification. The body was also adorned with tribal art. It is significant not only as an aesthetic enhancement, but also as a ritual. A moderate-sized piece that uses turtle shells. The smell from this necklace is reminiscent of Asia. About 25,000 people now live in Mahuro in the capital city. The unique artistry of their craft still thrives within the people of Mahuro. Kimben has 7 grandchildren. She has been making craft goods that use palm fronds